Hi, it's Pat Myers with 3 John 4 Resources. We're on the second piece of the 12 pieces to a great children's church classroom. This one we're talking about pre-service activity. Now, not everybody wants to do a pre-service activity. I don't know why they don't, but they should. But I figure some people maybe have kids that come to class and ready to sit and pay attention and not get into things before class and not over rowdy. And also maybe all of your church members arrive on time. That could be special for you. But for the rest of us, that is not the case. So I came up with this idea just to basically solve a problem. So the problem was you have the early comers. Well, not only the early comers, but you have the people who serve in church. You have their children, so they're there before service. And you have the people that come a little bit ahead or on time, and then you have the latecomers. So if you're like a lot of the children's ministers I've met across America, there's a lot of latecomers. And it always seems so unfair to the kiddos because it wasn't their fault that they got there late. And yet if they miss something really important, then it's just not fun for them. They feel left out. And some people say, well, if we start, then, they'll get their parents to get here on time. But, that's just improbable. So don't go there. It's just too much headache on your part, and it's unfair to the kiddos and makes them feel bad. So we just came up with a pre-service activity, and I know what you're thinking. You are thinking something else to plan. Well, you can make it simple. I mean, you can just come up with 12 or 15 ideas and just rotate them. That's fine. I'll give you a few ideas today, and then there's even more than that in this book, which I think we already showed you the cover, 12 Pieces to a Great Children's Church Classroom. There's a few more in there, but we also have another book on our website. It's like super cheap. It's like $3 or something. It's 102 Fun Things, and it's just a list of 102 things that you can add to your children's church, like at the drop of the hat. Just boom, you could just do it. And some of them have to do with before the service or during the service or whatever, but some of them also would be things that you could do as your pre-service activity. But it gives a focus when the kids get there. So they've had their great greeting. See the first piece of the puzzle video if you want to hear a little bit more about that. So they've had that and they come inside, and if there's nothing to do that's planned, then they'll think of something to do. And they might think of something to do like in groups or, maybe not the most constructive thing to do. So if you find that happening, just have something going on when they get there. And if there's something happening, especially if there's like a helper over here with the little group and a helper over here with the little group, they're going to join in because they want to be a part of it. And yes, you may have that one child that most of us have, that one child that will refuse. And that's a different whole issue. That's a discipline issue and a classroom management, that kind of issue. But for this, the majority of kids want to get involved with whatever's happening. So have it set up, definitely have it monitored. If you don't have it monitored, you might as well just not have anything planned. And have something for them to do. So that you start your service when the majority of the latecomers are there. For me, I always started my service 15 minutes after this upstairs service started, the main church service started. That's just my rule. That's what I did. So anyway, here's just a few suggestions. Like a drawing assignment. They could have paper, unless you have great big chalkboards or whiteboards, but a drawing assignment that has to do with the lesson. And then later on, when you're doing the lesson, you can show pictures of whatever it is. Or Legos. Now, if you are sitting there thinking, my kids are too old for Legos, you are wrong. They are not too old for Legos. They may wish they were too old for Legos or like to think they're too old for Legos. But if you put a big pile of Legos and a group of kids, they're going to get in there and do something. So maybe you want them to build the Wall of Jericho or Noah's Ark or the fish that Jonah might have gotten swallowed in. There's all kinds of things that they can make. And building things together as a group is a whole lot different than playing with Legos on their own. It's a challenge, it's a competition, it's a, race to the timer goes off kind of a thing. Let me think of another idea here. I'm just looking at the 12 Pieces to a Great Children's Church Classroom book. Oh, you could have a great big rolled out piece of butcher block paper on one of the tables, and they can either draw on that, which is a great idea, or you could have word puzzles or just challenges. The person that's monitoring the group, maybe they could just call out a word and they have to draw that word and give them, a minute. Ding, the timer goes off, call out another word. Keeps them occupied, gets their mind going. Maybe they were rushed around at home to get out the door, and this kind of brings them back to, okay, now I'm on this project and this subject, which is, of course, children's church classroom. There's balloons. Balloons are a great tool. Balloons are so great. And you could have balloons there that they need to blow up. That gets them, busy. A little bit of a sanitary problem for me, because if they try to blow and they can't get it, and then they want you to put that balloon in their mouth, Miss Pat won't do it. So that's kind of against all my rules. But I'll get another balloon for them and blow it up for them if they can't. But it's something they can try. If you're wild and crazy and you don't mind noise, it's really fun for them to have all the balloons piled in one place, and at some point, either during game time or lesson time, they get to go and bounce on them and pop them, which is, super peaceful, but fun. Let me give you one more. Oh, you could have homemade Play-Doh that you bring in. Again, if you think they're too old for Play-Doh, they're not. It's just molding clay. And again, they can make something that has to do with the lesson that day. But there's a host of other ideas that you can use that's just stuff that you could automatically have ready. You have a resource room. There's stuff that's just left over from other crafts that ask them to put it together differently. If you can fit it in with the lesson, the reason that it's fun to do that is because then you can bring it back like a visual for later. So that makes it super fun. But in a pinch, it doesn't have to do with the lesson at all. You can just have them having something to do. And that's just fine and great too. Something with their hands or with their body. The monitor could ask them to do things like, okay, I need you to jump 20 times, and now, sit down and stand up 20 times, or something like that too. It's also a great idea, and it kind of wears them out a little bit, so that's kind of fun. So it's just an idea. It's called a pre-service activity. Again, you could have how many of our ideas you can come up with, and then just rotate them around. Don't make it another big headache. Just make it something that solves a problem. It gets them involved when they get in there, and they're ready for the class to start when you're ready for the class to start. Give it a try. Let us know in a comment how it went for you, and maybe you had a crazy fun idea. Share it here, and then everybody that logs in will be able to steal your idea and use it and say thank you. Subscribe if you want to get the rest of the videos and plus the future ones we come out, and then check out our website at 3john4resources.com. You can see this book, but also the 102 Fun Things book.